Okay, got a video for our third day of solving equations. We're going to really bring in some more complicated situations for you today. But first, I want you to start with the warm up. Try these two problems out. Pause your screen, do those, and then the next slide will have answers on it. So get your answers checked, and if you have any questions or you didn't get what I got, make sure you follow up with me or your teacher. Okay, so hopefully you've had enough time to pause your screen and do those. Here's the answers for both of those. And again, follow up with questions if you didn't get something or go back and check your work. All right, I do want to work three examples with you today as we kind of close out solving equations with just like the traditional problem sitting in front of you. Then we're going to add some word problems and things down the road. But what we've got here is a little bit something different, and we've got a fraction coefficient out front of these parentheses. So a lot of you might get the urge to distribute because coefficient outside of parentheses, go ahead and multiply. But that's not exactly what I would recommend you do here, mostly because if you distribute 3/4 here, you're going to end up with more fractions. And our goal is to try to not have fractions. So what I want to try to get you to do is to deconstruct this fraction coefficient so that it no longer is an issue for us. So keep in mind that 3/4 is the same thing as 3 divided by 4. So I'm going to do the inverse of divided by 4 in an effort to get rid of that fraction. Now, as I'm solving here, I haven't really started the solving process. What I'm trying to do is to make this look like I want to look and make it a little more user friendly. So me getting rid of this fraction has not quite started the process of solving just yet. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So write out my process here just so everybody can see it and you know exactly what my moves are. Keeping in mind that I am keeping my equation balanced, and whatever I do to the left, I'm doing to the right. Okay, now watch what happens here. This is something that a lot of folks might miss. When I multiply by 4 and I divide by 4, those two things work against each other and cancel each other out. So that 4 that I would be multiplying by everything in these brackets just got canceled by that 4 that I multiplied. So as soon as that happened, those two things canceled, and now I'm left with 3 as the coefficient now. Now over here I do have to multiply, and I get 48. And now look, I no longer have a fraction. This is a great tactic to use, and now I can solve just like I've been doing. Go ahead and distribute that 3, and let's get started on our solving. 12x minus 24, because I do multiply, equals 48. Now I want to keep the x's with the x's and the constants with the constants. So inverse operation, add 24. 12x, because those cancel, is equal to 72. Now I divide everything by 12 in order to get x by itself. 12 divided by 12 is 1, so it's no longer affecting my problem. 72 divided by 12 is 6. So x is 6. Now, seemingly a complicated problem at the beginning, but if we can quote unquote get rid of the fraction, we no longer have to stress about fractions in our answers. All right, our next example, double distributing. So we got distributing on both sides. I would encourage you just to go ahead and distribute and then combine like terms before you start your solving process. So distribute and distribute. So that's going to give us 12x minus 9 is equal to 10x minus 35. Now, one more step, double check to see if you could combine like terms anywhere. And unfortunately, you can't, because the 12x and the 10x, are not on the same side of the equation. So you can't add those together to make like terms. So don't do that. All right, so now I'm going to concentrate on solving. 12x on the left side, 10x on the right side. There's more x's on the left, so I'm going to send my x's to the left and my constants to the right. So positive 10x means the inverse operation is minus 10x. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. That's going to give me 2x minus 9 is equal to negative 35. I'm going to inverse operation, add 9 to both sides to try to isolate the variable. 2x is equal to negative 26. Last step, divide both sides by 2 because that's the inverse of multiplying by 2. X is equal to negative 13. So notice that we distributed first before we started solving, always checking to see if we could combine like terms. We didn't have like terms here because these were on different sides of the equation. All right, one more that I want to throw at you is this idea of kind of rearranging and having subtraction happen in front of these parentheses. Now, it's very, very, very tempting, and I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to use this red to indicate what the mistake that happens is, and then I'm going to go back to my black marker here in a second. So a mistake that happens a lot, and again, this isn't our real answer, this is a mistake that happens a lot. People will just 12 minus 2 and say that that's 10 times x plus 3 equals 4x plus 24. And that's not crazy. You're just working left to right. Here's the problem with that. That's wrong because of the order of operations. Remember, order of operations says parentheses, exponents, then multiplication and division, then addition and subtraction. So just because I work left to right and I see subtraction first does not mean I'm going to do subtraction first. So I've got to be incredibly careful here. What I would recommend here is to go ahead and take that 12 off of the left side and move it out of there so that it's no longer distracting you. So instead, we are going to subtract 12 from both sides of this equation so that it's no longer distracting us. And I'm going to get the mistake out of the way as well, so that's not distracting us either. Okay, so subtracting 12 from both sides, these guys cancel, and I've got negative 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 4x minus 12. Being very, very, very careful that I did not make the mistake of 12 minus 2. Now distribute your negative 2. Negative 2x minus 6 is equal to 4x minus 12. And now I just want to get the x's with the x's and the constants with the constants. More x's on the right side. Inverse operation, add 2x to both sides. Negative 6 is equal to 6x minus 12. Going to go ahead and inverse operation to get the constants away from x. Add 12 to both sides, and I get positive 6 is equal to 6x. Last step, divide by 6, because that's the inverse of multiplying by 6. 1 is equal to x, and by the symmetric property of equality, we can flip that around. X is equal to 1. And there we go. So that's 3 complicated examples of multiple step solving processes that you got to pay attention to. Feel free to go back and check those out. Good luck. Make sure you do your practice.